Morning, everyone. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. It's Monday. It's, it's Monday, the 27th of April. And I remember the 27th of April, or I mark it for two quite different reasons. The first is that in 1994, the 27th of April was the last day of voting in the South Africa's first properly free and fair democratic elections. A time that I remember really clearly, really vividly, while we waited anxiously for the result, and who knows what, a descent into civil war. We ended up with the wisdom of Nelson Mandela and others guiding us into the hope of the possibility of a quite different South Africa, which they didn't just tell us about, but embodied in themselves, which is a very wonderful gift to have as a nation at that time. I remember it every year because it's a public holiday in South Africa, and I do joke occasionally that being a citizen of both countries means I should get the public holidays in both places, but no one's ever taken that seriously. The other reason is that 2 years ago today, I was very personally involved in the very tragic death of a friend and colleague's husband, and 2 years on, she and her children limp on into the future, having done a remarkable job of coping and managing themselves, each other, and all of their remembering of that day and what came before it and after, and just grieving their way into the future. So Freedom Day. Well, I guess the question for South Africans is, do you celebrate freedom, or do you hope for freedom, or what does Freedom Day really mean? Normally on a Monday, I've tried to find something to give you to do, but I struggle this today and over the weekend to think about what that might be, because frankly, in every direction you turn, there's someone telling you should take up potato printing or macrame or knitting or yoga or balancing on your head, or learning to do cartwheels on the roof of your house. Someone somewhere, and everyone with best intentions, helping us to be crafty in a good way, not in a devious way, to be creative, to be engaged, with our minds and our hearts and everything that is our lives. So I continue to offer you what I've done a couple of weeks in a row, which is particular forms of prayer and breathing techniques, and you can find those on the YouTube channel if you go back to previous Mondays. But today, this morning I went for a long bike ride. I did about 53 kilometers out to Bradford and Helperby by some back roads, and then back through Easingwold. It's a beautiful cycle route. Beautiful route. I'm wearing a hoodie because I'm a bit cold. It's not actually that cold a morning, but for some reason this morning I got cold on my bike ride. And even after a shower, I'm still feeling cold. And my legs were sluggish. My legs were tired. And I have quite a lot of technology that goes with me. My phone sits on my handlebars just below and has an app on it called Komoot, which is a route planning app that I play with. Today I decided to use the route finding on it to give me directions, but I also have some Bluetooth on, and this morning I listened to 2 hours of Radio 4, and even in his absence, John Humphreys managed to make an appearance and annoy me again. But the thing about this morning is that I didn't feel great from the time I left. And one of the screens that I have sitting on my phone alongside my more advanced cycling specific computer is a screen that tells me how far I've gone and how much of my route is left. And it's that how much is there still to travel, how far is there still to go. I just looked at again and again and again this morning. I stopped twice, once to sit on a bench and once to look down on some very quiet railway lines, somewhere out in rural North Yorkshire, because I just felt like I needed to stop. How far is there still to go? And I remember as a child travelling with my mother and my sister down to the coast in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa, to holiday with grandparents. It's a trip of about 400 miles, 600 and a bit kilometers. My mom had a Volkswagen Beetle until I was 11 years old, 10, 11 years old, and then she had a Golf The Golf, I think, had a rudimentary kind of radio in it. The Beetle had nothing. So we'd play all kinds of games on the way down. And I used to, in the days before seatbelts, lie on the back seat of the Beetle and watch the telephone lines alongside the road sort of loop up and down in the window at speed and in a mesmerizing way. The road was a single lane in both directions for huge parts of it. It went through some mountains, some significant hills. There was always a truck that had fallen off the hill somewhere. There was always a dead animal, a horse or a cow or something on the side of the road somewhere. Now it's a big dual carriageway and it's a much faster route. But that old question, are we there yet? Or how long until we arrive, was on my and my sister's lips all the time. And of course, because we drove that route a lot, because that was what we did for holidays. We couldn't really afford much else, so we'd go and stay with family. You got to know really well the landmarks along the way, where we'd stop for breakfast or coffee, and where we'd stop for this. And when you came over this hill, went around that pass, you'd see this vista open up, and then you knew that you were heading towards the place. And are we there yet? So one of the things that annoyed me on the radio this morning was quite a lot of, I don't know what to call it, bleating, really. And journalists just asking the wrong questions all the time, as though it just seems the only question that has been really part of Britain's coronavirus experience for the last day or two at least is, when's it going to end? When's it going to end? How's it going to end? Tell us how it's going to end and when it's going to end. And the government saying again and again, for good or ill, rightly or wrongly, we don't know. And these are the things that are most important. And we will use these things as a measure. But we don't know what today will be like. We don't know what tomorrow will be like. We can tell you what the trends are. But that doesn't mean we can say a week on Wednesday you can go to a coffee shop again. Or, the Saturday after you can go back to the golf club and play around the golf. And I wonder what that great impatience in us is about. It is obviously about the fact that this is a mixed time. For some people this is a very difficult time. For all kinds of reasons, it's hard to be isolated and there's great insecurity. It's easy for me to sit here with with a warm cup of coffee and warm clothing on in a house, with job security, Rebecca employed and busier than ever. None of us are in danger of losing our jobs. None of us are feeling the effects of coronavirus in all its forms in any meaningful way. So I want to be careful about what I say and not sound arrogant, and I hope I don't. But I wonder whether part of that impulse to know what tomorrow will be like and when we'll go back to normal, whatever normal means or looks like, is part of a greater impatience with slowness and not knowing, which robs us of the gift of today in so many moments. I will think about South Africa a lot today. It's a country I still love dearly. I don't think I will ever live there again because my life and my children, my family are rooted here. But it's a country I love, and it's a place that shaped me, and it's a place that formed so much of my understanding of the way the world works and what the possibilities are when we tell the truth and listen to each other and go about trying to step away from the things that we together find ways of saying were wrong, destructive, harmful. I also today will think about one family a lot. One family who today will have whatever day they have, remembering a husband and a father who is not with them, and who and whose death leaves them with still a long road to walk and a lot of work to do. I don't know how patient you feel. I don't know how impatient you might be, or what you think politicians or scientists owe us at this time. I want to say that perhaps today, if there's anything to do as part of my little Monday thing of something to do, it is to try to be in today for today as much as you can. Yeah. I was listening this morning as well to Isabel Hardman, the journalist, political journalist, talk at length about a book she's written, partly about her own struggles with quite severe mental health problems, and the way that being in nature has contributed to her to her managing of herself. You know, the journalist who interviewed her talked about the nature cure, and she just said, I don't know what, I don't like that language, because the fact is that I might be on medication for the rest of my life, and I'm on the strongest medication I've ever been on for depression. But going outside and noticing bird calls and watching a nuthatch and being present in the moment helps me in the next moment, and the moment after that, and the one that comes later. So, no great wisdom today, if there ever has been any. I'm not sure about that. Just that question and that impulse in all of us, I think, to want to know tomorrow before it arrives. And the way that it is shaping our political discourse at this time, the way that it is shaping our, our understandings of power and what is good and right in those who lead us and how they do that. And for all of us, that desire to arrive wherever we think we would like to be or hope to be. As I said before, and I want to say this again as I close, that can be really self-indulgent. And I suppose this morning to address the question to you and I of whether our desire to know what tomorrow and the day after and the day after and next week and next month will look like, to question how self-indulgent that is, even though it may just be indulging the part of ourselves that is curious, or the part of ourselves that is wanting to know how to feel some normality. I'm not for a moment addressing or putting aside the real concerns people have about their physical and material health and wealth, where jobs are at risk or have already been lost, or prospects are ever diminishing. But I don't know what it means for South Africa to say today is Freedom Day. I wonder what that looks and feels like. I haven't lived there for a very long time. But freedom will always be a project, however much we feel free or not. There will always be more work to do in the project of becoming free together in ways that are good for all of us. And I leave that with you this morning to think about and to ponder. Maybe to do nothing more than just to go and sit outside in your garden with a cup of tea, if you have a garden and you have a cup of tea, well, those are your things, and just listen. Just listen. Even close your eyes. Just listen. Just look, notice, see, enjoy, absorb, take part in the world around you. Jesus once said, "Do not worry about tomorrow, for each day has enough trouble of its own." Sounds like one of his least positive moments. But there is some truth in that. Who knows when we'll come out of this? Who knows what that will look like? Who knows how that will be phased in, or who will be left out in the freedoms that we begin to have? But if we're going to be free again, if we're going to be properly free together, then let's at least be free today. To be in today and to enjoy today for whatever it will be, or just to endure today for whatever it will be, and to know that tomorrow will come, and tomorrow will be its own challenge and its own reward, and that each day that follows will hopefully lead us into greater freedoms. So bless you on Monday the 27th of April, whatever it means for you, and whatever today is, and whatever it is that you look back on tomorrow as this day in your life so far. Cheers.